please subscribe and share for more story. Marina Calder froze the moment she stepped inside the Grand Wynn estate. A sharp crash echoed through the hall, followed by Evelyn Wynn's venomous voice, slicing the air like a blade. "You clumsy, useless girl. Look at the mess you've made." Marina's hand trembled on the brass doorknob as she leaned forward, peering through a narrow crack in the double doors. She had imagined this moment for 10 long years. Warm hugs, happy tears, the smell of fresh coffee, a reunion between mother and daughter. But instead, she saw her daughter Alina kneeling on the cold marble floor, trembling as she picked up shards of broken porcelain with her bare hands. A bead of blood fell from Alina's finger, landing bright red against the pristine white floor. Evelyn hissed, "You're staining the marble. Can't you do anything right?" Marina felt something ancient awaken inside her, a deep, primal rage she didn't know she possessed. But she didn't move. Not yet. She needed to understand exactly what kind of world her daughter had been trapped in. Silent and shaking, Marina stepped back, closed the door behind her, and walked toward the waiting taxi. Her world had cracked open, and she wasn't leaving without answers. The taxi driver looked up through the rearview mirror as Marina slid into the back seat, her face pale and stunned. "Ma'am, wasn't that your stop?" he asked gently. Marina swallowed the lump rising in her throat. "It was," she whispered, staring out at the towering limestone mansion. "But not today. Please take me back to my hotel." As the car pulled away, her eyes stayed fixed on the estate, its manicured lawns, its columns, its cold beauty masking something rotten. Marina had spent 10 years working herself to exhaustion in London, consulting for major textile firms, saving every pound she could. She believed she was building a safety net for her daughter's beautiful new life. She imagined Alina hosting dinner parties, sketching architectural plans in sunlit rooms, laughing with a loving husband. Instead, she walked into a scene that felt like a nightmare pulled from an old novel, her brilliant daughter reduced to labor, scolded like a servant by a woman with ice in her veins. Marina exhaled shakily, her heart pounding with clarity. "They think she's alone," she murmured. "They think no one will fight for her." She straightened, her voice turning to steel. "They're wrong. I'm coming back for everything." Back in her hotel room, Marina sat by the window overlooking the gray stretch of Lake Michigan. The water churned restlessly, mirroring the turmoil inside her. She could still see the image of Alina kneeling on the marble floor, her hands shaking, her eyes empty. Marina pressed her palms to her forehead, trying to steady her breath. How had she missed this? How had her daughter gone silent for so long? She closed her eyes and drifted back to their life before the winds, before the lies, before the distance. Their little apartment in Rogers Park had been small, but it pulsed with life. Alina would sit in their yellow kitchen drawing skyscrapers while Marina cooked dinner after long shifts at the bakery and dry cleaner. "Mama," young Alina used to say with bright eyes, "I'll build us a home with windows so big the whole sun can fit inside." Marina worked tirelessly to support that dream. And when Alina got into architecture school, Marina cried tears of joy. But then came Darius Wynn. Wealthy, polished, charming in a practiced way. Marina had sensed something off in him, something controlling behind the smile. But Alina fell in love anyway. Now Marina knew the cost of that silence. The next morning, Marina walked into a private investigation firm recommended by a contact in European finance. The air inside was cool and smelled faintly of old documents. Detective Rowan Hale, a sharp-eyed man in a gray suit, motioned for her to sit. Marina placed names on the table like evidence in a trial. Darius Wynn, Evelyn Wynn, Wynn Logistics. "I want everything," she said. "Financial records, debt trails, business dealings. I want to know what kind of cage they've built around my daughter." Rowan raised an eyebrow. "The Wynns are considered a very respectable family," he warned. "You may not find much." Marina slid a retainer check across the table, so large it made Rowan blink. "Dig deeper," she said calmly. "Wealth that loud always hides something." For 3 days Marina barely slept. She paced, drank coffee, stared at the ceiling, imagining her daughter alone in that mansion. When Rowan finally called her back to the office, there was a thick folder waiting. "Mrs. Calder, you were right," he said quietly. "The Wynn empire is crumbling." With steady hands, Marina opened the file. Every page she flipped made her heart beat faster. The truth was worse than she imagined. Rowan spread documents across the desk, each one a crack in the Wynn family's polished image. "Wynn Logistics hasn't turned a real profit in 7 years," he explained. "They've been taking out loans to pay off other loans. They're months away from collapse." He pointed to mortgage statements. "Their estate has 3 active mortgages. They're 18 months behind on payments. Their cars are leased. Their accounts are bleeding." Marina gripped the armrest. The wealth Selena married into was nothing but a fragile illusion. Rowan slid another sheet forward, bank statements showing recurring deposits. Marina's stomach twisted. The amounts matched the money she had been sending Selena every month. "Every dollar you sent," Rowan said softly, "was transferred into Wynn accounts immediately." They weren't supporting her. She was supporting them. Marina felt heat rising in her chest, anger, grief, betrayal woven into one sharp breath. Then Rowan hesitated before laying down a stack of photographs. "There's more." The images showed Darius entering an expensive restaurant, laughing with a much younger woman, visiting a penthouse. "Her name is Sienna Vale. He's been paying her rent. $6,000 a month." Marina stared at the photos, her hands shaking. "My daughter was scrubbing floors," she whispered, "while he funded a mistress." Marina steadied herself, inhaling slowly as she processed the devastation laid before her. 10 years of sacrifice, 10 years of believing she was helping her daughter build a safe life, had instead been siphoned into propping up a collapsing empire and financing Darius Wynn's double life. Marina closed the folder with a soft thud, her expression turning from pain into cold resolve. "Who owns their debt?" she asked. Rowan flipped through another set of papers. "Mostly private equity firms. Some smaller banks. They're all eager to unload it. It's considered toxic now." Marina stood. "Good. I want every contact number. Every institution. Every negotiator." Rowan hesitated. "Mrs. Calder, buying that much debt will cost a fortune." Marina's eyes hardened. "A fortune is exactly what they stole from my daughter." For the next 2 weeks, Marina entered a whirlwind of lawyers, signatures, and endless documentation. She liquidated everything she owned, her investments, her savings, her London flat. She wired funds across continents, negotiated interest rates, signed contracts until her hand ached. And when the final document was complete, she exhaled deeply. She now owned every mortgage, every business loan, every outstanding payment tied to the Wynn name. She didn't just discover their weakness. She purchased it. On a cloudy Tuesday morning, Marina walked up the polished steps of the Wynn estate, not as a visitor, not as a mother, but as the legal owner of everything the Wynns believed they controlled. She rang the doorbell, the sound echoing through the mansion. A moment later, the door opened. Selena stood there, her eyes widening in disbelief. "Mama," she whispered, her voice shaking. Marina didn't speak. She pulled her daughter into her arms, holding her tightly as Selena broke down. "I'm here now," Marina whispered. "It's over." From inside, Evelyn's voice screeched, "Selena, why are you standing at the door like a fool? Who is it?" Marina and Selena stepped into the parlor together. Evelyn sat upright, a teacup in hand. Darius adjusted his cufflinks, plastering on a fake smile. "Mrs. Calder, what a surprise. Selena, get your mother some coffee." Marina's tone sliced through his performance. "She's not serving you anymore." Evelyn frowned sharply. "Excuse me? This is my home." Marina dropped a thick legal folder on the table. It landed heavily, rattling the porcelain. "Not anymore," Marina said calmly. "Everything you own, or believe you own, now belongs to me." Darius reached for the papers, confusion turning into dread. Darius flipped through the documents, his face draining of color. This is impossible," he stammered. "These are bank records. These mortgages, they're not yours." Turn a page, Marina instructed. He did, and his breath caught. His hands trembled as he read the assignment of debt. You bought it. You bought everything. Marina nodded. Every loan. Every mortgage. Every liability you've been hiding from the world. Evelyn shot to her feet, knocking her teacup to the floor. This is outrageous. You're a textile consultant, not a millionaire. Marina met her gaze steadily. I built my wealth. I earned it. And unlike you, I didn't steal it from my family. Darius looked desperately at Alina. Tell her she's being unreasonable. Tell her this is a mistake. We're family. Marina stepped closer, her voice low. Family doesn't destroy their own. I know about Sienna, Darius. The room froze. Alina looked between them, confused. Sienna? Who is that? Marina didn't break eye contact with her son-in-law. Ask him who he takes to the penthouse downtown. Ask him where the $6,000 a month comes from. Ask him why you've been cleaning floors while he buys jewelry for someone else. Alina's hands began to shake. Darius, Alina whispered, her voice breaking. Tell me she's lying. Darius swallowed hard, sweat gathering at his temples. Alina, it's not what it looks like. She's a colleague. Business requires dinners, networking. She's a 24-year-old influencer, Marina interrupted sharply. And last week you bought her a diamond bracelet using the money Alina saved by scrubbing your floors. Alina stared down at her hands, the rawness, the small cuts, the calluses. Slowly, something inside her cracked open. She lifted her chin, tears sliding silently down her cheeks. Get out, she whispered. Darius blinked. What? Get out, she repeated, louder this time. Leave this house. Evelyn sputtered. Now, let's all calm down, Marina cut in. There is no we. The house is mine. The company is mine. And your time is up. She turned to Darius. You have 1 hour to pack. Anything bought with company money stays here. His composure shattered. We have nowhere to go. Marina folded her arms. Then perhaps Sienna has a couch. She paused. Though I froze your accounts this morning. Her rent check will bounce. I'm sure that will complicate things. Darius's mouth opened in horror. Alina closed her eyes, breathing through the release of years of buried pain. What followed was an hour of chaos and humiliation. Darius begged, pleaded, even tried to drop to his knees before Alina, but she stepped away from him. Don't touch me, she said firmly. You haven't touched me with kindness in years. Evelyn, meanwhile, tried to smuggle a silver serving set into her handbag. Marina calmly removed it and set it back on the table. That stays, she said. Everything stays. Soon the two Winds shuffled out the front door carrying barely filled suitcases, looking smaller than Marina had ever seen them. Their Mercedes had already been towed. A taxi idled by the curb, Marina had ordered it. The door slammed shut behind them, the sound echoing through the now silent mansion. No shouting. No arrogance. Just emptiness. Alina stood in the center of the foyer, her eyes scanning the marble floors, the crystal chandeliers, the staircase she once imagined walking down in joy. Now it all felt cold. Do you want to keep it? Marina asked gently. The house is yours now. Alina shook her head. Tears welled, but these tears were soft, releasing. No, Mama, she whispered. This place almost killed me. Sell it. Sell everything. I don't want any part of this life. And so they did. Over the next several months, Marina worked with lawyers, appraisers, and financial teams to unwind the tangled mess that was Wynn Logistics and the estate's mountain of debt. They sold the property, the luxury vehicles, the artwork, and every asset that wasn't tied to fraud or unpaid taxes. The Winds tried to sue, but without funds or legal standing, their efforts fizzled into nothing. The business community soon learned the truth about their financial collapse, and the once renowned name, Wynn, became whispered as a cautionary tale at industry conferences. Amid all the paperwork and court filings, Marina stayed by Alina's side. Her daughter struggled daily, relearning how to breathe without permission, how to exist without fear. Therapy sessions began peeling back the layers of emotional manipulation Evelyn and Darius had inflicted. Some nights Alina woke up crying, shaking from nightmares. Other nights, she simply sat at the table, staring into nothing. Marina cooked for her, held her, reminded her of who she used to be. Slowly, Alina began rediscovering herself. She unpacked her old sketchbooks. She began drawing again. The lines were shaky at first, but Marina didn't mind. They were signs of a spirit returning home. After shedding the last piece of the Wynn world, Marina and Alina moved into a warm loft in Wicker Park. The first thing Alina did was open every window, letting sunlight flood the room. "This," she whispered, "is what a home should feel like." The loft wasn't huge, but it had high ceilings, exposed brick, and windows large. Enough to make Alina smile the way she used to as a child. Marina bought a set of colorful bowls like the ones they had in their old apartment. They filled the kitchen with the smell of garlic and peppers again, familiar, grounding. Alina began drawing more. Sheets of sketches soon covered the dining table. One evening, Marina came home to find her hunched over a new blueprint, pencil streaks smudged across her cheek. "What are you working on?" Marina asked, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. Alina looked up, eyes bright for the first time in years. "A proposal for a community center," she said. "Affordable, eco-friendly, designed for families." Marina kissed her head proudly. "Submit it." "Do you think I'm ready?" Alina whispered. "You've always been ready," Marina replied. "You just needed space to remember your worth." Alina submitted her proposal, unsure of what would happen. Weeks passed. Then one sunny afternoon, an email arrived from the city. She had won the contract. Marina found Alina sitting on the floor, laughing and crying at the same time. "Mama," she said breathlessly, "they chose mine?" Marina lifted her chin proudly. "Of course they did." The community center became the first of many projects. Word spread quickly. Alina called her, the architect who built with heart rather than ego. She didn't design for wealthy elites. She designed for real people, parents who needed safe spaces for their children, seniors who needed community, neighborhoods that deserved light and dignity. Her quiet resilience became her strength. Marina often visited her daughter's construction sites, watching crews bring Alina's sketches to life. She would stand to the side, arms folded, smiling as Alina directed teams with confidence. One afternoon, Marina overheard a contractor whisper to another, "She's brilliant. And she listens. You don't see that often." Marina felt her chest warm with pride. After years of being silenced, Alina had found her voice again, clear, steady, and full of purpose. It was on one of these job sites that Alina met Caleb Hart, a landscape architect with rough hands, warm eyes, and a laugh that seemed to undo every knot in her chest. Their first conversation began awkwardly, a disagreement over the placement of a row of maple trees. "They'll block the morning light," Alina argued. "They'll provide shade for the playground," Caleb countered. Marina watched from a distance as the debate slowly turned into laughter. Caleb had a gentleness that didn't diminish his strength. He asked Alina questions, real questions, and actually listened to her answers. He never guided her by the elbow or spoke over her. He treated her like an equal. Over the months, they grew closer. They shared lunches on site, long walks through botanical gardens, quiet evenings sketching side by side. For the first time in years, Alina allowed herself to imagine a future that wasn't tied to fear or survival. Caleb became a soft place to land. Marina approved of him immediately. She saw the way he looked at her daughter, as if Alina were not just important, but cherished. "You deserve someone who sees your light," Marina told her one evening. "He does," Alina whispered. The winds, meanwhile, were swallowed by the consequences of their own choices. Evelyn passed away 2 years later in a state-funded nursing home, her pride having driven away every last person who might have cared. No lavish funeral. No mourners. Just silence. Darius fared no better. His reputation shattered after Marina's acquisition of Wynn Logistics exposed years of mismanagement. He hopped from one short-lived job to another. One afternoon, Marina spotted him downtown wearing an ill-fitting suit, handing out flyers for a questionable investment seminar. Their eyes met briefly. Darius looked away first. Marina felt nothing, no anger, no triumph. Just relief that he no longer had any power over her daughter. Alina never asked about him again. She simply continued building her new life, one project, one sketch, one healing step at a time. And the world, which had once seemed so dark around her, slowly brightened. Her laughter returned. Her confidence returned. And eventually, her heart opened fully again. To Caleb, to new dreams, to new beginnings. Marina knew that some wounds would never disappear completely. But healing had taken root, and it was blooming beautifully. 3 years after leaving the Wynn estate, Alina and Caleb welcomed a daughter, Nora Hart, a bright-eyed child who inherited Alina's golden hair and Marina's stubborn chin. From the moment she arrived, Nora filled the loft with a joy neither woman had realized they'd been missing. Marina adored her granddaughter deeply. She babysat often, teaching Nora old family recipes, pointing out architectural shapes during walks, and telling stories about the tiny yellow kitchen from Alina's childhood. Their home was filled with warmth, colorful blankets, children's drawings on the fridge, the smell of roasted peppers drifting from the stove. Marina loved watching Caleb and Alina working together. He treated her daughter with unwavering respect, often kissing Alina's forehead as they reviewed design sketches late into the night. Marina would watch them from the doorway, a smile spreading across her face. This was what safety looked like. This was what love looked like. Nora grew quickly, her giggles echoing around the loft. She loved running around the living room, her tiny feet pattering across the hardwood floor. And every time she laughed, Marina felt something in her heart settle, a peace she hadn't known in decades. One warm spring evening, Marina sat on the balcony of the loft, sipping a cup of coffee as she watched the sun sink behind the Chicago skyline. Inside, Nora was chasing Alina around the living room, shrieking with laughter. Caleb stood in the kitchen cooking dinner, humming softly as he stirred a pot. The scent of garlic filled the air, mingling with the warm breeze drifting in from outside. Marina leaned back in her chair, closing her eyes for a moment. She felt the weight of 10 years in London, the exhaustion, the loneliness, the guilt, all of it, finally lift. She had lost her savings. She had lost the retirement she'd planned. But she had gained something far more priceless. A daughter restored. A granddaughter who symbolized hope. A family built not on pretense or wealth, but on real, steady love. Marina opened her eyes as Alina stepped onto the balcony, Nora clinging to her leg. "Mama," Alina said softly, "come inside. Dinner's ready." Marina smiled. "In a moment," she replied. She wanted to savor this view, the life she had rebuilt from ashes. "This," she whispered, "is what winning feels like." As the years passed, Alina's reputation as a compassionate architect continued to grow. She designed shelters for women, libraries for underserved neighborhoods, outdoor spaces that brought communities together. Each project carried a piece of her healing, a quiet testament to what she had survived and who she had become. Marina attended every ribbon cutting, every award ceremony, every presentation where Alina stood confidently, explaining how light, color, and structure could transform a space into a refuge. People saw an accomplished architect. Marina saw a miracle, her daughter, once broken, standing tall. She often reflected on the day she first walked into the Wynn estate. If she had screamed, if she had acted impulsively, she might have saved Alina for a day. But by gathering information, by exposing the truth, by taking complete control, she saved her forever. Marina sometimes replayed the moment she handed Darius the deed to his own downfall. Not because she enjoyed the memory, but because it was the exact moment she reclaimed her daughter's future. And each time she watched Alina succeed, Marina felt those efforts return to her in the form of pure, quiet pride. Caleb became an integral part of Alina's life, not by overpowering her dreams, but by nurturing them. He encouraged her when she doubted herself. He stood beside her during presentations. He celebrated each victory with genuine joy. One evening, Marina overheard Caleb telling Alina, "You light up every room you design." She saw her daughter blush, a softness she hadn't witnessed since Alina was a young woman dreaming of skyscrapers. Eventually, Alina and Caleb were married in a small garden ceremony surrounded by people who truly loved them. No grand ballroom, no cold luxury, just flowers, sunlight, and laughter. Marina cried when she walked Alina down the aisle, not from grief, but from overwhelming gratitude. After everything Alina endured, love had found her again, this time in its truest form. Even years later, Marina sometimes paused to watch Caleb interact with Nora, patient, playful, steady. She often whispered to herself, "Thank God she waited for the right man." Caleb was nothing like Darius. He didn't want a servant. He wanted a partner. And together, they built not a mansion, but a life. Meanwhile, the winds had faded into obscurity. Time had stripped away the illusion that once shielded them. With no money, no influence, and no family to rely on, they became cautionary tales whispered quietly in wealthy social circles. "Did you hear what happened to the winds?" People murmured. All that wealth all gone. Evelyn, isolated by her own cruelty, died alone with no one to hold her hand. Darius spiraled into a cycle of unstable jobs and financial scams. His once sharp suits replaced by cheap, wrinkled ones. Marina saw him only once after the fallout. He approached her nervously, as if seeking forgiveness, but she simply stepped aside. "We owe each other nothing," Marina said calmly. "And I will not reopen a door I closed for my daughter's sake." She walked away, without looking back. It wasn't vengeance, it was closure. Carmen felt no satisfaction in their downfall. The winds had destroyed themselves. All she had done was remove their mask and protect her child. Marina realized then that true justice wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet. It was final. And sometimes it simply meant choosing your own peace over someone else's chaos. Nora grew into a lively, imaginative child who adored drawing just like her mother. Marina loved watching her tiny hands grip crayons as she drew houses with enormous windows, just like the ones Alina dreamed of long ago. "This one is for you, Nana," Nora would say proudly, handing Marina a colorful sketch. Marina kept every drawing in a box under her bed. Each one reminded her how the cycle had healed, not continued. Sometimes Marina would sit with Alina in the evenings, sipping tea while Nora played nearby. They talked about everything: work, love, memories, the future. One night, Alina looked at her mother and said, "You saved me, Mama." Marina shook her head gently.
"No, sweetheart.
"I showed you the door. You walked through it." Alina leaned her head on her mother's shoulder. "I don't know how you found the strength to do what you did." Marina smiled softly. "When you love someone, you lift mountains without thinking." Nora trotted over to them with a giggle, climbing into her mother's lap. Alina wrapped her arms around her daughter, eyes bright with gratitude. Marina watched the moment unfold like a blessing. Everything she had lost had returned to her tenfold. Marina's own life settled into a peaceful rhythm. She volunteered at community programs, helped seniors with textile mending, and became known in the neighborhood as the woman with the warm smile and fierce spirit. People admired her without knowing the battles she'd fought. Sometimes, younger women asked her for advice. She always said the same thing: never underestimate your worth, and never let anyone dim your light. Marina maintained a quiet dignity. She didn't boast about buying the wind debts or rescuing her daughter. She didn't mention the fortune she'd sacrificed. Those details didn't matter anymore. What mattered was the present: her daughter thriving, her granddaughter laughing, her home filled with peace. And whenever she passed by the lake, she thought of that hotel room years ago, where she had made the decision that changed everything. "I would do it all again," she often whispered to the wind. Every last step. The world hadn't rewarded her with riches, but it had rewarded her with something more profound: clarity, purpose, and freedom. Marina knew now that a life defined by love, not money, was the greatest wealth she could ever hold. As Nora grew older, she began asking questions about the past. Mama, Nana, why don't we talk to Mr. Darius? Alina paused, choosing her words carefully. Marina rested a gentle hand on Nora's hair. Because not everyone who enters your life deserves to stay, she said softly. And sometimes walking away is the healthiest thing you can do. Nora nodded thoughtfully. Marina felt grateful they could answer her with honesty rather than fear. Alina added, "We're safe now, sweetheart. That's what matters." One morning, Marina watched Nora and Caleb plant flowers on their small balcony garden. Nora giggled as worms wiggled in the soil, while Caleb patiently explained the importance of roots. Marina felt warmth bloom in her chest. Roots.
Stability. Growth.
Nora had all of it, things Alina had once been denied. Alina came to stand beside her mother. "You gave me my life back," she whispered again. Marina squeezed her hand. "You rebuilt it," she corrected. "I just held the ladder for you." The two women stood together, the breeze lifting their hair. Nora hummed softly as she dug into the soil, unaware that her little hands were shaping not just flowers, but the future of their healing family. With time, Marina realized that her greatest victory wasn't toppling the Wynn family, it was giving her daughter the space to rise again. Alina's firm, Calder Studios, grew into a respected presence in Chicago, known for designs that prioritized community and dignity. Her projects were visited by families, city officials, and students who admired her passion. Marina attended every groundbreaking and ribbon cutting, standing proudly in the crowd while Alina spoke with confidence. Sometimes reporters asked about Marina's role in Alina's journey. Alina always answered, "My mother taught me to build with integrity and to stand tall when the world tries to shrink you." Marina never tired of hearing those words. When Alina spoke them, the applause felt like a whisper of justice carried across the years. One evening, after returning home from a project launch, Alina handed Marina a small framed blueprint.
"This is for you," she said.
It was a sketch of a home filled with sunlight, huge windows, warm colors, open spaces. "The house I dreamed of as a child," Alina said. Marina hugged her tightly. "You built it," she whispered. "In your own way, you finally built it." And Alina smiled, tears shining softly in her eyes. Now, as Marina sits on the balcony watching Nora twirl in the living room while Caleb cooks and Alina laughs, she understands something she never understood in her youth. True wealth isn't found in bank statements or luxury homes. It's found in peace, in safety, in being surrounded by people who love you without conditions. Marina takes a slow sip of her coffee, letting the warmth spread through her chest. "Everything I lost," she whispers, "was only making room for what truly mattered." She remembers the mansion's cold marble floors, the venom in Evelyn's voice, the photographs of Darius with another woman. She remembers signing papers until her hands cramped, sacrificing everything she had saved. And yet, looking at the life before her now, the light, the laughter, the steady love, she knows she would do it all again without hesitation. Marina didn't just buy debt. She bought her daughter's freedom. She bought a second chance for their family. And as Nora runs to her, calling, "Nana, look at me," Marina opens her arms wide, smiling as she lifts her granddaughter into the air. The returns on her investment, she realizes, will last generations.